She stood up in the middle of the room, holding a glass of wine, and said something that made the entire party freeze. "We've decided to try an open marriage," she announced, her voice cheerful, confident, as if she'd just shared a funny anecdote. The laughter died instantly. 20 people stared at her, then at me. My wife, Julia, beaming like she'd just made a toast to our eternal love, when in reality, she'd just set fire to it. Before I tell you how that night turned into the beginning of the end, make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a comment if you've ever been blindsided by someone who thought public humiliation was a game. It was a Saturday evening at a friend's house, Mike and Lauren's place. Nice people, big backyard, string lights, good food, decent playlist. The kind of easy, suburban get-together where everyone relaxes after a long week. I was standing near the grill, beer in hand, chatting with a few coworkers about football. Julia was across the patio, surrounded by her friends, laughing too loud like she always did after her third glass of Pinot. Every now and then, she'd glance over at me with that look, half playful, half daring. The look that meant I'm about to do something you won't like, but you won't stop me. For months she'd been talking about spicing things up. Articles about modern relationships, podcasts about emotional freedom, little comments about how monogamy was a social construct. I brushed it off at first, figured it was talk, maybe curiosity. But that night, when she stood there and made that announcement, I realized it wasn't just talk. She wanted a reaction. She wanted control. "Wait, what?" someone said from the couch. "You're serious?" The room had gone silent except for the faint hum of the music. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Julia took another sip of wine, her lipstick leaving a perfect red mark on the glass. "Absolutely," she said. "We've decided to be more open, more honest. We believe in freedom, not ownership." Her tone was smooth, rehearsed. I could tell she'd practiced this speech. Mike awkwardly laughed. "Well, congrats, I guess." A few people chuckled nervously. Julia looked at me, waiting for me to squirm, waiting for me to deny it, or to look like a fool. That was her plan: humiliate me into submission, then play the "I was joking" card later. But I didn't give her the satisfaction. I took a slow sip of my beer, set it down, and looked right at her. "As you wish," I said. The smile froze on her face. For a second, just a second, the mask cracked. She hadn't expected that. I turned my head toward Amanda, one of Julia's friends sitting on the arm of the couch nearby. Amanda, tall, brunette, sharp eyes, no patience for nonsense. The kind of woman who saw through everything. "Amanda," I said casually, "you free this Friday night? Maybe we grab dinner." You could have heard a pin drop. Amanda's eyebrow arched, then a grin spread slowly across her face. "Sure," she said, cool and steady. "I'd love to." Someone coughed to hide a laugh. Another muttered, "Oh man." Julia's hand trembled as she set her glass down. "Wait, what are you doing?" she stammered. I looked at her calmly. "Accepting your terms," I said. "You just told everyone we're in an open marriage. Guess I should start acting like it." A few people looked away, others couldn't hide their smirks. Julia's confident energy evaporated. "That's not funny," she hissed. "I wasn't being literal." "Sounded pretty literal," I replied. "You didn't say maybe or someday. You made a declaration." Amanda stood, still smiling. "Friday works for me," she said. "I know a great place downtown. Italian." She grabbed her coat. "Thanks for the party, Julia. Always enlightening." She walked past my wife without another glance and headed for the door. The click of it closing behind her echoed like a gunshot. Julia was left standing there, her expression shifting through disbelief, anger, panic. "Can we talk outside?" she said finally, her voice cracking. I nodded. We stepped out to the porch, the night air cool and still. The hum of the party faded behind us. "What the hell was that?" she demanded. "You're actually going to go out with Amanda?" I shrugged. "Why not? You said we're open now." "I was joking," she snapped. "Didn't sound like a joke." Her voice rose. "You made me look like an idiot in front of everyone." I laughed once quietly. No, Julia. You did that yourself. She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. You're serious? She whispered. Completely, I said. You wanted freedom. You've got it. She paced, muttering under her breath. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. But it was. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing her approval, wasn't trying to smooth over her chaos. I was just done. Inside, through the window, I could see people pretending to chat, glancing at us from time to time. The energy had shifted completely. I picked up my jacket from the railing. I'm heading home, I said. Enjoy your freedom, Julia. She didn't answer. She just stood there, wine glass in hand, the queen of her own crumbling kingdom. That night, I sat alone in our quiet house, replaying every smug smile, every little joke she'd made at my expense. I tolerated it for too long, but something in me had changed. I wasn't going to be her punchline anymore. Not her test, not her backup plan. And as my phone buzzed with a message from Amanda, looking forward to Friday, I realized the game had officially flipped. The morning after the party, the house felt unnaturally quiet. Julia was still asleep when I got up, her phone buzzing faintly on the nightstand beside her. I ignored it, made coffee, and sat in the kitchen replaying everything that happened. The look on her face when I said, "As you wish." The silence that followed. The laughter she hadn't expected. For once, she wasn't the one in control. I should have been angry, but I wasn't. I felt strangely calm, almost relieved, like I'd finally stopped playing a rigged game. Around 10, she came downstairs in her robe, sunglasses on even though the blinds were closed. You made a fool of me, she said, pouring herself coffee without looking at me. You did that yourself, I replied. You were drunk and reckless. She slammed the cup down hard enough for some to spill. It was a joke. You humiliated me in front of everyone. No, Julia. You announced we're in an open marriage. I simply agreed. She glared at me, eyes flashing. You think you're so clever, don't you? No, I said quietly. Just tired. She left the house without saying another word. I heard the car start, tires screeching as she pulled away. By noon, I had already gotten a dozen texts from people who'd been at the party. Most were polite but curious. Dude, was that real? You okay? Man, that was wild. I answered none of them. Instead, I grabbed my keys and went to the gym, needing to move, to clear my head. Every rep, every drop of sweat felt like I was burning off years of frustration. When I got back, Julia's car was in the driveway again. She was on the phone, pacing the porch. I don't know what got into him, she said sharply to whoever was on the other end. He's being ridiculous. Of course, it wasn't serious. She saw me and froze, lowering her voice before hanging up. Who was that? I asked. Just Lauren, she lied, making sure I was okay. Good, I said. You'll need friends now. That night, she cooked dinner, something she rarely did. Candlelight, wine, the works. It was her way of fixing things without ever admitting fault. Let's just forget about last night, she said softly as she filled my glass. We were both drinking, we said stupid things. I studied her carefully. The charm was back, the manipulative sweetness she used whenever she wanted to reset the board. You don't get to declare something like that in front of 20 people and then act like it didn't happen, I said finally. Mark, come on. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic? You made our marriage a spectacle. I made a joke, she insisted, her voice rising. A bad one. Fine, but you didn't have to take it seriously. You made a declaration. In front of witnesses. Maybe next time, you'll think before you open your mouth. We ate in silence after that. Every clink of silverware echoed through the kitchen. When she finally spoke again, her voice had softened again, coaxing, familiar. You're not really going to dinner with Amanda, are you? She asked. I didn't answer right away. I took a bite, chewed slowly, swallowed, then met her eyes. Friday at 7, I said. The look on her face was worth every ounce of restraint I'd ever practiced in that marriage. You're serious? She whispered. Completely. She laughed, but it wasn't genuine. It was sharp and nervous. You wouldn't actually. She's my friend. I corrected. Past tense. She stood abruptly, pushing back her chair. You're not doing this. Watch me. She stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door. For the next few days, she alternated between silent treatment and forced niceness. I didn't bite either time. I went to work, came home, went about my routine like nothing had changed. But everything had. For the first time in years, I felt no pressure to fix her moods, no obligation to make peace. She'd started the fire. All I was doing was letting it burn. Thursday night, she tried again. She came into the living room in her silk nightgown, hair loose, voice low. Can we talk? She asked, sitting beside me. Sure. I hate how things have gotten between us, she said. We've been distant. I just wanted to shake things up. I didn't mean to hurt you. Then why say it? I asked. Because I wanted to see if you still cared, she said. If you'd fight for me. I turned off the TV. That's the problem, Julia. You think love is a test. It's not. It's not about pushing someone until they break just to see if they'll crawl back. She frowned, her confidence faltering. So what? You're punishing me. No, I said. I'm just finally taking you at your word. She went quiet for a long moment, then reached out to touch my arm. Please don't go through with it, she whispered. Don't go out with her. Why not? Because I can't handle it, she admitted. I pulled my arm away gently. Neither could I, when you did it to me in front of everyone. She left the room without another word. I heard her crying later that night, soft muffled sobs behind the bedroom door. For the first time, I didn't go to comfort her. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened, made coffee, kissed my cheek before I left for work. But her eyes were wary. She knew I meant it. She knew Friday was coming, and that this time, she couldn't talk her way out of IT to be why the time Friday rolled around, I was ready. I'd shaved, wore the shirt she hated, the one she said was too much for normal occasions. It felt right. When I came downstairs, she was sitting on the couch, arms crossed. So that's it, she said. You're really doing this? You set the rules, I said, grabbing my keys. I'm just playing by them. She didn't look at me as I walked out the door. Don't wait up, I said. The door clicked shut behind me, and for the first time in years, the air felt clean. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove into the night, not knowing what would happen next, but knowing, for once, it would be my choice. Friday evening was warmer than usual for early spring. The sun was low, painting everything in gold as I parked in front of Amanda's apartment. I sat there for a moment, staring at the steering wheel, wondering what I was really doing. Was this revenge? A statement? Or just me finally reclaiming something that had been slipping away for years? I didn't have an answer. But when Amanda stepped out of her building, smiling with that mix of confidence and curiosity, I stopped caring about the why. She wore a simple black dress, nothing showy, but it fit her perfectly. Right on time, she said. I like that. Old habit, I replied. You look great. So do you, she said. And for once, I believed it. Dinner was easier than I expected. No awkward tension, no forced conversation. We talked about work, travel, and the absurdity of modern relationships. She was funny, sharp, unfiltered in a way Julia never allowed herself to be. When the waiter poured wine, Amanda raised her glass. To clarity, she said. Something your wife clearly lacked. I laughed. You're not wrong. So, she leaned forward. You're really going through with this? You're actually open now. I smiled. I didn't open anything. I just stopped pretending she hadn't already. She tilted her head, studying me. You know, you don't seem angry. I admitted. But anger takes too much energy. I'm just done being the fool in her show. Halfway through dinner, my phone buzzed. Julia. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again and again. Amanda noticed. You should get that? No, I said. Not tonight. She nodded approvingly. Good. For the rest of the meal, I didn't think about Julia once. When we finished, Amanda suggested a walk along the waterfront. The night air was cool, and the lights shimmered on the water like broken glass. You know, she said, I never liked her much. You're not the first person to tell me that, I said with a small laugh. I always thought she tried too hard, Amanda continued. Everything with Julia had to be a performance. Every laugh, every compliment, every moment of vulnerability. It was all rehearsed. I looked at her, surprised. That's exactly how it felt. Like I was part of her script. And now you're not, she said. Now you get to write your own. When I dropped her off later, she leaned in the window before heading inside. For what it's worth, you handled last night better than most men would have. Most would have begged or shouted. You just flipped it on her. I didn't plan it, I said honestly. I just reacted. Well, it worked, she said. She's been talking about it all day. Word travels fast, you know. She smiled, waved, and disappeared into the building. When I got home, Julia was sitting in the living room, still in her work clothes, eyes red from crying. You actually went, she said softly. Yeah. With Amanda? Yep. Did you sleep with her? I laughed dryly. You made an announcement in front of half our friends that we're in an open marriage, and you're asking me that? She looked down, embarrassed. I didn't mean it. I was drunk. I wanted attention. I wanted to see if you still cared. You keep saying that, I said, sitting across from her. But here's the thing. Julia, real love doesn't need tests. It doesn't humiliate the other person to feel powerful. She looked up, her eyes wet again. So what, you're done? You're just going to walk away? I don't know yet, I said, but I know I'm not living like this anymore. She reached out, but I stood up before she could touch me. I'm going to bed, I said. You can have the couch tonight. Mark, good night, Julia. I shut the bedroom door and locked it. The next morning, she was gone when I woke up. No note, no message, just silence. I didn't care enough to wonder where she went. Around noon, my phone buzzed, a message from Amanda. Just checking in. Hope your morning's peaceful. I smiled and typed back, quieter than usual. She replied with a laughing emoji. That weekend, things between Julia and me turned cold. She tried to act normal, cleaning, humming while she cooked, asking about my plans. But there was a tension in every word. By Sunday evening, she broke. I can't do this, she said suddenly while we were eating dinner. I can't sit here pretending everything's fine. Then don't, I said. Be honest for once. She slammed her fork down. Fine. You want honesty? I hate that you didn't react. I wanted you to care, to fight for me, to get jealous. But you just sat there like I didn't matter. Maybe that's because you stopped acting like you did, I said evenly. She blinked, tears forming again. I made a mistake. Yeah, you did, I said. But it's not the first one. She looked at me like she wanted to scream, but instead, she stood and walked out of the room. The sound of her heels clicking down the hallway was the only thing left. Later that night, I sat outside on the porch, staring into the dark. I thought about how many years I'd spent trying to please her, trying to keep her from getting bored or restless. But people like Julia don't get satisfied. They chase attention the way others chase oxygen. And when they don't get it, they burn everything around them just to feel alive. My phone buzzed again. Amanda. She texted me. Her message read. Said I betrayed her. Said I ruined her marriage. I stared at the screen, then typed, You didn't ruin anything. You just happened to be there when the curtain fell. She replied, Good. Because I don't do guilt for other people's chaos. I smiled. Neither do I sent back. That night, I slept better than I had in months. For once, there were no arguments, no games, no uncertainty, just silence and clarity. Julia wanted a test. I'd passed it by failing to play along. What she didn't understand yet was that she hadn't just opened our marriage. She'd opened the door for me to finally walk out of it. The following week, everything felt unnervingly calm. Julia stopped trying to argue, stopped trying to fix things, stopped pretending. It was like she had accepted something she didn't have the courage to say out loud. Every morning, she'd wake up early, shower, make herself coffee, and leave for work without looking at me. No more little jabs, No sarcastic remarks, no performance. Just silence. And I found myself wondering which version of her was worse. The loud, manipulative one or this ghost that barely existed in the same space as me. I didn't reach out. I didn't chase her. I'd spent too many years doing exactly that, and now that the silence was mine, I wasn't giving it back. Around Thursday, she finally broke it. "I think I'm going away for the weekend," she said quietly while standing by the door with her purse. "Good idea," I said without looking up from my laptop. "Where?" "Napa," she said, hesitating slightly. "Just a solo trip. I need to clear my head." I nodded. "Enjoy it." That was it. No argument, no suspicion, just permission. And that, more than anything, seemed to shake her. She left Friday morning. I watched her car disappear down the street, the trunk packed with more luggage than a 2-day trip required. I poured myself another cup of coffee, sat down, and waited. I didn't have to wait long. By noon, my phone buzzed. It was her sister, Claire. "Mark, I didn't know you were going to Napa too," she said cheerfully. "I'm not," I replied. There was a pause. "Wait. Julia said you two booked the couple's package together. The Vineyard Resort." I stood up slowly, looking out the window. "What did you just say?" Claire hesitated, voice dropping. "She told Mom you were going together, that it was a romantic thing." My stomach turned, but not from surprise, just from confirmation. "Thanks, Claire," I said. "Have a good weekend." I hung up, set the phone down, and smiled. She really couldn't help herself that I didn't call her, didn't confront her, didn't text. I let her have her illusion. Saturday morning, I went for a run, grabbed lunch with a few friends, and acted like the world was perfectly fine. Around 3, Claire called again. "Mark," she said, voice tense. "I think you should know something." "Go ahead," I said. "Julie is not alone. Someone saw her at the airport with Nathan. Remember him?" I did. Nathan, her ex from before we met. The one she claimed was ancient history. I thanked Claire, hung up, and sat there for a long moment. No anger, no heartbreak, just a steady, quiet resolve. She'd finally given me the one thing I needed, proof. That evening, I called my attorney friend, Paul. "I need to start paperwork," I said. "You sure?" he asked. "Completely." He came by the next morning with a folder and some advice. "Document everything," he said. "Keep it clean, keep it legal, keep it quiet." "Quiet," I repeated, "is my specialty." By Sunday afternoon, while she was probably sipping wine in Napa with her ex, I was going through the house, boxing up her things. I labeled everything neatly: closet, bathroom, office. I didn't touch her personal items or throw anything out, just organized it all with precision. When I was done, the house looked lighter, like someone had opened all the windows after a long storm. I took a picture of every room, printed a copy for the file, and left the rest for my lawyer. She came home late Sunday night, wearing sunglasses even though it was dark. Her hair was perfect, her dress too polished for a solo weekend. I didn't say a word. I sat in the living room, reading. She hesitated in the doorway. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey, you okay?" she asked. "Perfect," I said without looking up. "How was Napa?" She froze. "It was fine. Peaceful. Good." I turned a page. "Did Nathan enjoy it too?" The color drained from her face. "What are you talking about?" "Claire called," I said calmly. "You should tell her to stop worrying so much about my travel plans." She set her purse down slowly, trying to compose herself. "It's not what you think," she began. "I doubt that," I said. "But go ahead, tell me the story. Maybe this time you'll surprise me." She launched into a messy explanation about running into him by accident, about how he just happened to be at the same resort. Every lie was worse than the last. I didn't interrupt. I didn't shout. I just let her speak until she realized I wasn't reacting at all. "Say something," she finally demanded. "There's nothing left to say," I replied. "You've already said everything with your actions." She started to cry, but I just stood, picked up my jacket, and said, "Paul will be in touch tomorrow. You'll need to sign a few things." Her tears stopped instantly. You called your lawyer? Yesterday, I said. You're efficient when you're motivated, she said bitterly. I learned from the best. I walked past her toward the door, but she grabbed my arm. Please, Mark. We can fix this. I turned, meeting her eyes. Julia, the only thing you've ever fixed is your makeup after you destroy something. Her grip loosened, and I pulled free. I walked out, locking the door behind me. The next morning, I got up early and went to work like nothing happened. My phone buzzed a few times, her trying to call, but I ignored it. Around lunch, Paul texted. She signed. No contest. That was that point 2 weeks later. I saw her one last time. It was purely by accident at a cafe near my office. She was sitting alone, sunglasses on, stirring her coffee like she didn't have anywhere else to be. When she saw me, she froze. I nodded politely, just once, then kept walking. No words, no drama, no closure. Just the quiet ending she'd earned. Now, when people ask why I seem so calm these days, I tell them it's because peace isn't something you find, it's something you reclaim. And sometimes, the only way to win is to stop playing the game entirely. That if you made it this far, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because sometimes, walking away is the loudest thing you'll ever say.